Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Optimized Ecommerce Podcast. I'm Tanner Larsson, and we are going to dive right in with a really cool episode on a topic that you guys have been asking a ton of questions about in our various Facebook groups, on our blog, and everything else. And that topic is, what about upsells, downsells, cross-sells, how to use them, what are they? You know, we've talked about this a little bit in some other podcast episodes in the past with other team members, but we decided to do another focused podcast specifically on these three things and how you can use them to not only maximize your AOV, boost your LTV, and just actually make your store or brand profitable and also convert with cold traffic, which is the whole thing that we're after. So to help me do this episode and actually share his wisdom, we've got James Backenstose, who James is, God, dude, you're what, the first person we ever brought in for RO?
First RO.
Yep. So yeah, because you came in and then Alex came in, right? Like
1 day later, correct.
1 day later. So he's got massive amounts of seniority in the company, considering he's 1 day older in seniority than Alex. But he's been around with us from the very, very get-go, has helped us pioneer a lot of what we do. And not only is he a revenue optimization expert in terms of working on our amplified stores and our partnership stores and stuff like that, but James is also the senior RO who also runs and oversees the entire RO optimization operation. So he's basically running all the other revenue optimization experts and helping them and guiding them and overseeing their stores. And so he gets a really, really good look at, you know, what's going on. So the other little tidbit before we jump in, why James is so good at talking about upsells, downsells, cross sells and stuff like that, is he really got his hands dirty with this with one of our past clients, or existing clients, I should say, who does a lot of basically, well, they do a lot of sales, of course. They're doing about a couple $1 million a month, but they started out when they came to us at around 30 grand a month. And over about a 30-month period, we took them from about 30 grand a month to 45 grand a month, and then up to $2 to $3 million a month. And I think they topped out close to around $4 million a month. A lot of that is due to being able to leverage traffic at a very, very effective rate. And to do that, we had to use cross sells, upsells, and downsells. And James was the guy implementing all of that on that massive store. So James, enough bragging about how amazing you are. You show people kind of what you know. So let's start with, actually, you know what? I told him a little bit. Why don't you give a little bit more background on kind of like what your day-to-day is like and, you know, kind of just what you do, because they've never actually gotten to talk to you or hear from you before. So.
Sure. No problem. Like Tanner said in the intro, I'm one of the very first RO hires that Build, Grow, Scale. I was hired in November of 2017, 1 day before Alex. I always like to make that point. And, you know, we just started out learning the basic RO process and fine-tuned it over the years. And I've elevated myself just in my knowledge of e-commerce in all aspects. And present day, I oversee the amplified partner RO relationships between BGS and our amplified clients, from communication to basic RO principles to training and onboarding new clients. I'm kind of got my hands in a bunch of different pots all day long, as well as, you know, new site launches. I dabble in a little bit of minor developer work, so I'm all over the place. But I have had the blessing to work with a lot of big stores in my past, and seeing them grow from their infancy to, like Tanner said, $3-4 million a month in gross revenue. There's a lot of different pathways that we took to get there. It's something that didn't happen overnight.
That's for sure. So I know, as we talked about, one of the big things is their ability to leverage traffic, right? And so today what we're talking about specifically is upsells, downsells, and cross sells. And what they are, how they work, and how they can affect your traffic, right? So let's jump into the first part of it, and the two that are linked, right? Upsells and downsells. What are they?
So what an upsell is basically when someone adds a product to their cart, you offer them a more expensive, better product, right? So if they say add a massager for their neck to their cart, you then offer them with a higher model, a better model of that massager as the upsell, right? Increase your average order value, lifetime customer value, et cetera, et cetera. more profit on your end. And then a downsell is the direct opposite of that. So a downsell would be followed, the downsell would follow the upsell. So using a massager as the base product here for this demonstration, they're upselled a better model, a more elite model, and the customer declines that and says, no, they don't want it. Then the downsell from that flow would be something much less expensive than the original product that you still get to increase your average order value by adding a second product versus an upgraded product. So that would be the example of a downsell.
Cool. So now with upsells and downsells, we can also do it with, when it's with quantity type items, right? It doesn't always have to be a different item or a more expensive item. You can do bundles and things like that, right? Why don't you talk about that for a second?
Correct. So a real simple way to upsell it would be to utilize like a free shipping threshold, right? So when a customer adds a shirt to their cart, say it's $30, but the free shipping threshold on your store is $50. You can say, have a upsell saying, add one more item and you get free shipping. That also, intrigues the customer to buy that one extra item because they know there's no added cost when they reach checkout because they've reached that free shipping threshold.
Cool. All right. So that's the two. We're going to get into more details, guys, as we go, but let's start with the basic overview of those two. And then the other piece is the cross sell, and it doesn't quite fit in with those two. It's just another aspect of increasing AOV. So why don't we dive into what that is?
So a cross sell is basically offering a related item to the original product the customer has added to their cart or purchase, right? And I'll just use a real simple example, and we'll just talk about POD upsells. So say someone buys a shirt and it's a Second Amendment shirt, right? And it's got a design on it. A cross sell would be offering them a related item on that same niche, right? So they buy a shirt, I'm going to offer them some socks, something relatable to the original product they've purchased, right? Versus offering them a better or lesser product. It's just something in the same line of it. Or even another shirt that's in the same niche. It's just offering something relatable to that original product.
And okay, so now we talked about kind of basic, but let's talk about where you do this. So sticking with the cross sell right now, where is the best way and what is the best way to offer a cross sell? And then let's kind of give some examples of that.
So a cross sells, these can be a little tricky. There's two main spots, the best way to offer a cross sell. That would be after an item is added to the cart, offer a related item in addition, or you offer it inside of the cart itself with just a very quick, easy way for them to add a product. The most effective way for this is to offer a product that doesn't have a lot of options or variants. That way it's just a one-click ad, right? So like a one-size-fits-all hat or socks or something very, very simple for the consumer to add and, have your profit margins go much, much higher.
So I want to touch on that for a sec, James, because that's a big part of it, right? We see cross sells done wrong all the time where it's like, yeah, I added this sweatshirt and then they cross sell them a dress, which isn't related, but the dress itself is complicated because the customer can't make an impulse decision to buy that. They need to check it out, right? So right. I guess expand a little bit on that thought process as to how we need to look at the products that we're offering.
Sure. For a cross sell, you want to make it the easiest way for the consumer to add that item to their order or to their cart. By doing this, don't have it be an item where there's sizes and colors and hems and fabrics to pick out, right? Choose a product that's very, very profitable for you. That's also very, very easy for the customer just to one click and add it to their cart without much thought. Because what happens is they go down that rabbit hole of, this more complicated product that you're offering, and then they get sidetracked and then they just abandon completely. Yeah. And then you lose the whole entire sale. So there is a little bit of a technique to it. You don't want to disrupt the buyer's journey, number one. For one, make it relatable to the consumer and the product that you're cross-selling with. Also, just as important, if not more important, would be do not disrupt the buyer's journey, making it more complicated. Clarity trumps persuasion all day long in all facets of e-commerce.
And then in a cross sell, guys, like one of the ways to look at it is think about it like when you go to a grocery store. The impulse purchases that are right in front of you at the checkout counter require no consideration. Do I want a pack of gum or do I not? Do I want some Skittles or do I not? Those things that you don't have to think about it. You just, if you want it, you grab it, you add it. That's the kind of level of complexity we're talking about, or non-complexity, when you're adding a cross sell, because you don't want it, like James said, you don't want to interrupt their thought process. So the simpler it is, the better it is. Now, do all products lend themselves to this? No. You may have to get creative. You may have to figure out additional products or a supplemental product, or do something like we like to do, which is priority processing, which is basically or gift wrapping. Something that you're basically selling a very generic offering that has a high value, perceived value to people. And you can, use that and not actually even have to come up with another product. Both of those things are, priority processing or gift wrapping is something that's super simple. Or would you like to include a note or something? You can always add stuff like that to it. So,
good thing you touched on the priority processing thing. That's one of the easiest ones to do and increase your, average order value by $3 or $4 per order. And that adds up over time, especially, when you're putting 2,000 to 3,000 orders through, a week. And typically, the way we would offer that would be just something like, add priority processing to your order, and your order will process up to 48 hours faster. Mm-hmm. It's an impulse decision for the consumer. And of course, there's no one that's going to say, no, I want my order to take longer.
Yep.
That's just not something to do. And, it typically costs business owners like $2 to $3 an order for priority processing, depending on who's, doing your fulfillment or your warehouse. And then you can sell it for $6.99, $7.99, upwards of $9.99. And your profit on that, is there's no cost of goods except for just the $2 or $3 service charge, where you don't have to pay shipping on an extra product. So it's really, really profitable. And when people do take that priority processing as an upsell, from the previous data we've collected on stores, when someone does take that, I've seen conversion rates high as 45% when priority processing is taken.
Yeah, because those are your just best absolute buyers possible, because they're also people who take the priority processing. If you guys track that, they're also the most likely to become repeat purchasers. And I mean, everything building off that person who takes that little upsell indicates that they are potentially a whale client for you so you want to make sure you treat them very, very, very well and follow up with them. All right. So that's kind of the cross sell type thing. What about upsells and downsells? Where's the best place to offer those?
All right. So upsells and downsells, the absolute best way or the best spot to offer them is a complete post-purchase upsell. For one, offering it pre-purchase, you're disrupting that buyer's journey, especially with an upsell. You're upselling them a more expensive product, an additional product. It's not an impulse buy. It's something that they'll have to think about. And you don't want them to be thinking about that so much that they, abandon and don't make the first purchase. So the ideal spot is a true post-purchase upsell. So that's after they give the credit card number, they make the original purchase. Depending on what app you use for this, I know Shopify is coming out with their own integrated native one-click upsell with Ezra. That's still in its infancy, so the experience I have is with one-click upsell, and it's not a true post-purchase payment delayed, upsell. It comes as a separate charge, but you've already purchased the first order. So when you offer that completely post-purchase, you already have the original sale. You're not disrupting that original buyer's journey, and you can tell a story with your product a little more because the customer's already purchased, and now you can, put their focus into that product with different copy, descriptions, offers, whatever it may be, and really speak to your audience.
Yep. So that
you can have fun with it.
That is more complicated product that you wanted to use as a cross sell, but you couldn't because there were too many variations or colors or options or consideration, can totally be used as the upsell because you have a full page, like a product page, to describe it, right?
Yep. Precisely. You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to compare it to having just a landing page at the very, very end of your funnel, right? Where you can get in detail, you can have the variants and sizes and colors and fabrics and long descriptions and, offer, then this is also a way too, where you can offer a discount at a higher level than you can on your store, because you've already acquired that customer. You've already paid for them to hit your site. So this is just a higher profit margin, right? Because you've already acquired them. They made the original sale. That's done. Now this profit margin just became elevated. And then you also can couple downsells with the post-purchase upsells as well. They may not like the first product that you offer them and say, okay, thank you. How about this? And you formulate that the same way. A little less expensive item still related to the original product. That is the data that I've collected over the years that performs the best.
Yeah, and the downsells guys are, the thing is like if you have an upsell and a downsell, if someone says yes to the upsell, they're not going to see the downsell. The only time someone sees the downsell is if they say no thanks to the upsell, right? So if you're thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to show all these offers to everybody and I don't want, if they buy this, I don't want to see it. Well, they won't. That's the whole concept of the downsell. Now, the upsell itself, guys, is the perfect opportunity for you to introduce your continuity program as well. If you have a recurring income thing, whether it's a consumable product or a membership, an association, a newsletter, whatever it is that you're selling on continuity, that's the best time to offer it. So if they're buying the massager, maybe the upsell is a micro continuity membership that teaches them all the different ways to use it and gives them access to a portal where they can watch videos and learn all that stuff, in addition to other things. Or maybe it is maybe you could also position a warranty there or things like that. So there's lots of different ways you can use it. An example of a warranty, you could have maybe your product comes with a 1-year warranty. You could sell if it's a $100 product, maybe you sell a lifetime warranty for $30, $25, something like that. And they're like, no, I don't want that. Downsell could be another warranty that says, hey, how about just a 5-year warranty for $15 or something like that. And the thing is as long as you honor it, it's legit. And if you go to like Best Buy or Amazon or any of these stores, they're all offering these trade protection warranties for like $2 or $3. They're all based on a percentage of the product price. Why? Because warranties are huge money and most of them go unredeemed, just like gift cards. So that's another way you can leverage an upsell. But James, we were talking about the kind of chaining the upsell and the downsell. What are your thoughts on chaining upsells? How many is too many? What's acceptable? How does that work?
So that's going to depend on each store, right? And your audience specifically. I have most experience with like print on demand upsells, and we've tested this extensively because print on demand tends to have a lower return customer rate. So with that, I've tested like upsell with one downsell paired twice in a row, right? So if someone sees upsell 1, decline it, they're seeing the downsell, then they decline that downsell, they're sent to another upsell, followed by another downsell. So they're seeing 4
potentially 4 offers.
Correct. And that's if they say no to every single one of them. If they say yes to one of them, the ones that follow, they do not see.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And that is about the max I would probably go as far as offers. You can go deeper, but by that time, you're probably irritating your customer a lot. So it's a lot of testing, right? And with the applications we use, like One Click Upsell, you can split test inside of the checkout itself. And that's where you can really fine tune it and how many to offer. And you'll see the take rates go up and down based on your offers. Usually the deeper someone goes into your upsell funnel, meaning like step 3, the take rates are going to be really high or they're going to be extremely low. It's one or the other. There's never really a middle line. So the best way I've ever seen it happen is just one upsell with one downsell and the funnel. That's kind of the middle line in the medium where you're not irritating that client, but just hammering them with, offers. And you're also maximizing the opportunity to close that sale and to make that upsell and increase your profit. Yep.
So guys, I want to point out something that James said when he was talking about like the POD stuff they were testing, the print on demand. He talked about having 2 upsells and with each upsell having its own downsell. And, talking about how they've tested it different ways and that if they took any one of the offers, they don't see the rest of the offers, right? That's one way of doing it. And it's something to test. In a traditional upsell downsell environment, if you have 2 upsells, and let's just say 2 upsells and 2 downsells, just like James's example, the flow would go, they complete the purchase, they see upsell number 1. If they say yes to upsell number 1, they see downsell number 1. Okay. Either way, whether they say yes or no to either upsell 1 or downsell 1, typically they would see upsell number 2. Okay. And then if they took upsell 2, they would not see downsell 2. And if they did not take upsell 2, they would see downsell 2. What I'm saying there, the difference is that when you chain upsells, typically an upsell means that someone is always going to see all the upsells that you have, whether they say yes or no, but they'll only see downsells if they say no. Right. So now the thing is if you're going to have multiple upsells, you may not want to have multiple downsells. You may want to just be very careful with that. So we've seen people chain 3 and 4 upsells together in a row. And like James said, that really typically just pisses off the customer because then they start feeling taken advantage of, that you don't care about them. You're literally just trying to sell them, which obviously as store owners we are, but the customer has to come first in this environment because we're building a brand. We want them to come back. And the real money with a customer is not made on this initial sale. It's made on the repeat sales where that lifetime customer value comes into play. So if you alienate them with your crazy upsell flows, they're probably never going to come back to you. Okay, let's dive into a couple examples of kind of where we're at. So let's start with, since we're on the downsells, why don't we start with downsell examples? What are some actually, you know what? Let's start with upsells because that segues into the downsell better. So upsell examples, what are some different ways you've seen it done?
Upsell examples. So I'm just going to stick with the POD, the platform, just because it's very easy to understand and everyone pretty much knows what that is. So the way we tested and succeeded with, print on demand, post-purchase upsells is offer the upsell that's related to the specific design on the shirt. So with one-click upsell, which is what I'm most familiar with, you send your product into funnels based off of tags. So if you have a Second Amendment related t-shirt, you can tag it specifically so it's offered with the matching design on a hat, right? That is the best route to go for the POD game. Just make it very, very relatable. Or you can offer a Second Amendment shirt paired with, the original purchase is a Second Amendment, gun-toting shirt. You can offer another shirt that's in the same niche, the Second Amendment niche, with a different design that's, they're related, right? Because the Second Amendment crowd, I'm just using that as an example because they're a very dedicated crowd. Yep. They love it. Speak to your audience, right? You're going to have your dedicated audiences on those hot button topics that they're proud to wear it, right? And then with the downsell paired off of that, the best performing downsell I've ever seen, and this could be paired with the cross-sell on the product page for priority processing, is priority processing and post-purchase downsell flows. Kills it every time. I've seen 60-70% take rates on some of them. If your supplier can do it, or if you're doing fulfillment yourself, it's really easy. You just fill those orders first. Super easy to do. Yep. And at $6.99, you've already paid for the customer. That's an additional $6.99. If you're doing it yourself, that's a free $6 per order. It adds up over time. It may seem small out the gate, but that compound effect there is phenomenal, not just with the money aspect of it, but, you provide that experience for your consumers and your, customers where, my God, I got my product shipped to me in 5 days where so-and-so took 3 weeks, right? It goes deeper than just the money. It provides that lifetime value for the customer. Yep. And if you make these upsells fun and cross-sells fun and make the copy funny and relatable, like people are gonna remember that. They remember the story. That you're tugging on their heartstrings at that point, and then you become a brand. Yep.
And another thing on these, since we're talking so much about POD and other things that we've used very successfully in the past, if you're like, man, I only have this shirt or I only have a few shirts or whatever, obviously the hat works really well, or creating a bundle where it's like, hey, you bought shirt A, get shirt B and a hat for $45 or whatever it is. And then the downsell could be, oh, you just want the hat. But the other thing that I wanted to talk about was you can also sell more of the same, and it works really well, especially in an impassioned audience like Second Amendment or anywhere where they're very, very passionate about what they do, because their friends are usually just as passionate. So if they buy a Second Amendment shirt, you could offer them the same exact shirt as the upsell and say, hey, would you like to get one for your friend or family member for half off or 40% off or whatever the discount is? And then they can select the size, boom, and they can add another shirt. You can also, they can do that on the front end, but sometimes they don't think about it that way until you incentivize them. So there's ways you can do that very creatively with your upsells. And that's where James is talking about kind of making it fun and different. It doesn't have to be, something crazy. It can be very simple, like the priority processing, or, hey, you got the shirt with the BGS logo. Well, now I'm going to sell you a hat with the BGS logo. Oh, you bought the hat. Now I'm going to give you the t-shirt or the, whatever the combination, the sweatshirt, jacket, whatever. This is kind of odd, but in the print on demand space and in the other space, people, if they like the design on one thing, they'll typically like the design on multiple things. In my mind, that I wouldn't want to have the design on multiple things, but that I'm not the audience. The audience is typically like that. So keep that in mind as you're going. We're talking a lot of POD here, but it applies to other stuff. If you're selling supplements, the easiest supplement upsell is more of the same if you don't have continuity. Either your upsell is continuity, hey, get on the subscription program, or it is, hey, you bought one bottle, would you like 6? No, the downsell is, how about just 3? Very, very easy to do those kinds of things. You can upsell batteries if your product requires batteries, or a rechargeable battery system, or that's the upsell, and the downsell is just regular batteries. There's so many different ways that you guys can do this. It just takes a little bit of thought.
Stickers and decals do really well too, and they're cheap. Their cost of goods is extremely low. You can sell them for $6.99 a piece. Your cost of goods is probably 20 cents or something. And people love stickers. People love decals, so that's a great downsell as well.
Yep. And that stickers are, especially if it's the sticker of the design that's on their shirt, if you're doing something along those lines, that's really what sucks it in. So yeah, that's great. Now let's talk cross-sell examples.
Cross-sell examples. So the best place today to offer a cross-sell is pre-purchase. From my experience, there's obviously testing that needs to go into place to find that sweet spot for each store. The cross-sell example would be, like Tanner mentioned earlier, like another of the same item for a lesser cost, or a related product that's cheaper, kind of. Cross-sells are real tricky to fine tune. That takes a lot of testing, not only with, where to offer it, what to offer, because it's got to be relatable to the original product. You're not, offering a better product or a lesser product. It's got to be somewhat on the same line. So with let's just use like POD, for example, a shirt, you're cross-selling another shirt with a similar design or a second product to increase, your AOV to incentivize free shipping or something like that. Like I said, the best spot in the funnel where I've seen cross-sells perform is usually on the cart page, or as the product added to cart, a pop-up or something like that is implemented. Now, pop-ups can be distracting and they can increase your bounce rate. So that's something that needs to be tested on your store. Typically with higher AOV products, you can offer, a pop-up like that, because the customer is really engaged in your product. It's not like they're spending $20 on a shirt. They're spending, $300-$400 on a physical product. So they're reading all your copy. They're comparing it to the competitors. So they're engaged in your store. So you don't have to worry as much about disrupting their journey with like a pop-up as you would on a lower AOV store. So it's really just the importance of testing the location and, of course, testing the offer as well.
So with that, guys, the cross-sell, like in the cart, is great if it doesn't distract. But and this is where, as James said, I just want to really, really drive this home. Just because you see your AOV go up does not mean the cross-sell is actually helping you. Okay. The cross-sell could be driving AOV up. Of course it is. Of course somebody's going to take it. So your AOV is going to get a little uptick. It's going to have that green arrow, but it could be hurting other key metrics like conversion rate, proceed to checkout, many others, or even add to cart, depending on how you're using it. and it could be affecting bounce rate. So all those other metrics could actually be going down, which create a bigger loss for you than the gain you get from the increased AOV by using the cross-sell. So this is one of the things, that's why James says they're tricky. They're very powerful when used correctly, but don't take it at face value just because you see an uptick in your AOV. You're gonna see it just by turning it on. It's gonna happen, but that doesn't mean it's right. And we spend a lot of time fixing stores, and one of the things we usually do is take off their AOV thing once we test it, because we found that, hey guys, yeah, your AOV's up, but everything else is down, and usually it's more painful loss than what the uptick is. Also with that, you got your cross sells. Again, I just want to reiterate, the simplicity of them is key. That's going to increase the take rate. It's going to increase the completion, the acceptance, also the decrease the amount of people who get distracted and go down that rabbit hole James was talking about. So another example would be, if you're selling sunglasses, offer them a case or a cleaning kit, something very simple. If you're selling a flashlight, offer them batteries. If you're selling like a tactical flashlight and you have lenses that can go over the top to change the color of the light, offer them a lens kit. There's very simple things. Offer them a lanyard to go off the back, or a pressure switch, or a bicycle mount, or whatever. But it's got to be something that can be described with, what do you say, like 2 sentences or less? Kind of thing?
Something very simple. Yep. And they don't have to research it, right? Like you said, it's directly related to the original product. They don't need to look any research. They know it's paired with this. That way they can make that impulse decision. They don't got to think about it.
Yep. And it's got to be related too. Like either related or applicable to every product. That's the thing. So applicable to every product would be gift wrapping, priority processing. And gift wrapping could be a seasonal cross sell that you use. It doesn't have to be a 24/7. And you can obviously charge more during the holiday seasons for that as well, because people are rushed. But if it's, just because you have something simple like a pen, like, oh, okay, I'm going to give you this, I'm going to upsell you this pen, but I bought my product that I'm adding to cart is a shirt. That's not related. People are going to be like, why are they offering me a pen? But if you offer me a hat with a unisex hat with the same design, I don't have to think about it. I know it doesn't, it's one size fits all. I know it's got the same design. I can see, what it looks like with a picture, and I should be okay with that. But if you're talking pro-fit hats, now we got a whole other story, because pro-fit hats don't fit all head sizes. They have to have a small, medium, large, whatever. So now they're going to have to go, okay, well, what's the sizing on these? And certain types of, fitted hats have different head circumferences than others, in terms of, like, a small may not be the same as a small in another brand. So you're creating complexity in your buyer's mind when you do that. So make sure it's super related. The other example we talk about is like, if someone's buying a pocket knife, don't offer them a camping tent or something crazy like that. Like, even as an upsell, your upsells need to be related as well. Just because they bought a hunting knife does not mean that they want to buy your sheep herder's tent. It's not related, but you could offer them another knife, a pocket knife, a sharpener, a different sheath, a flashlight. Those things are more relatable. You just got to get into your customer's head and see. The other thing, they can use their store search results, right? And kind of to figure out some ideas for upsells and downsells, right?
Yeah. I mean, using your store search results, that's one of the easiest ways to find out what your consumer base is interested in. And, if they're searching, and you can get reports pulled on Shopify as well. I know there's apps that can pull, like, the most commonly paired product when more than one product is offered. And you can really, really utilize that data and hammer home your upsells, cross sells, and downsells. Because if you're not offering them now, and you see a report where these two products are constantly bought together, you can increase the number of times they're bought together by offering it as an upsell or cross sell, based off of just shopping behavior data prior to implementing all that. So that's another key component right there. I'm glad you brought that up, Tanner.
Well, and you can, when you were talking about, you guys, if you're using like one-click upsell and it's tag-based, you can have different upsell funnels based for different products. So you don't have to have one generic upsell that everybody sees. It could be like if they bought product A, they see upsell funnel 1. If they buy product B, they see upsell funnel 2. And so you can have it very, very dialed in based on what people are buying. So if people, what most people do though, is they have products A, B, and C, and they show upsell 1 to everybody. The thing is, it may not be as tightly related, and it may convert great for products A and B, but the upsell doesn't convert at all for product C. So you're losing money on everybody who buys product C because you aren't showing them a relevant upsell.
Right. That's spot on. I've ran on, client stores that we've had, 35 different upsell funnels going at one time. Depending on how many products you sell originally, obviously you can't have 10 products and have 35 upsell funnels. It just doesn't add up. But, if you got 200 products on your store, you take those top 20 that you always know are going to sell, and you upsell and cross-sell based on that original product. And that's where you'll find the best results. And then once you find that sweet spot, it's almost like it runs itself. Mm-hmm. You don't really have to adjust it that much. You don't got to watch it and tweak it. I mean, obviously you want to split test here and there. We always want our numbers to go up. But, if you have a 25% take rate on an upsell and you've already got your acquisition costs taken care of from the original purchase, I always say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. There's always if you're getting it to convert really well, there's the law of diminishing returns. At a certain point, you keep trying to over optimize that upsell, and it takes way more time than it's worth. And you'd be better off going and focusing on either another upsell, another front end, optimizing something else in your business, because it's already performing at a very, very good rate.
Right. Also, you can utilize, I spoke in this earlier, as post-purchase. You can hide that post-purchase product from your store's front end and make it exclusive for the post-purchase, where you can offer that higher discounted rate without affecting your, your profit margins on the front end from your acquisition costs, cost of goods, and shipping and stuff like that. So approach your upsell if it's, sense of urgency, scarcity for that product. Only offered this limited time only, reduced price, offer available for today only, whatever it may be. Create that sense of urgency. And you can afford to discount the product rates at that point, because like I said, you've already bought the customer, Yep. They've already purchased from you, and you covered that acquisition cost.
Yeah, and that actually brings up a point. You can afford a discount. The other kind of common belief that's not actually true is that upsells always have to be more expensive than the product that they're buying. Now, in theory, yeah, if you can do it and it makes sense, then yes, a more expensive offer makes sense. But if you have a product, let's say they buy a $24 shirt and you happen to have a $10 something that goes with it that has a really high margin, why not? If it's super related and people are going to buy it, and it has a great take rate, your take rate's obviously, the lower the price is, the higher the take rate will be. So if you've got a good margin, and you can get a high take rate, it's totally fine. Like selling a $24 shirt or a $30 shirt and then offering them a $15 shirt as like a BOGO as the upsell is totally fine, providing that the margins work out. And then you have to do the calculations. Like, okay, if I raise the price and my conversion goes down, does the increased price mean more profit even though the conversion dropped, or do I need to keep the price where it's at and allow the conversion to be higher? There's going to be a trade-off. You just got to find out what that happy medium is for you. And since it's on the back end, it's not about acquisition of a customer. We don't care about that. We're literally at maximizing profit. So you can play with that. And sometimes I know in one of our free plus shipping funnels that we used to do, we were selling a bore snake on the front end, which is for a gun. It's basically a gun cleaner that you pull through the barrel. And the upsell was to get 2 more for half the price. And our margins on them were phenomenal. And the take rate was huge. And then what we did is a second upsell. Would you like a shotgun bore cleaner? Because we were selling a rifle bore cleaner for a 223 for AR-15. And then we offered them a 12 gauge bore cleaner or like a bundle pack where they could get a shotgun, 7.62 and or 12 gauge and 20 gauge and 7.62. So it was like a full rifle bundle pack. And that whole upsell was nothing but bore snakes. It was the exact same product, just different variations of it. and in 2 upsells, and the take rates were huge. And it went from like $4.95 free plus shipping, to I think $10 for the first upsell, and then $28 or $38 for the second upsell. It defies logic, but it converted like crazy, and the profits were great. So guess what? We broke the rules and we ran it because it worked. So James, I know I kind of went off on a tangent there, but you were finishing up on that, you started talking about take rates and stuff like that. So what are some average or baseline take rates? And I know it varies, but what has been your experience in that kind of stuff for upsells, downsells, cross sells, things like that?
So I know I spoke on to like the simplest upsell with priority processing offered like on a product page.
As a checkbox, right?
You're right. It's just a checkbox. The take rate on that is probably around 15-20%, I would say, of their overall users. But more importantly, when that item, and when that priority processing is taken, they're converting, upwards of 40%. That's pretty high. I'm not saying that's normal. That's probably on the high end. On an average, I'd probably say around a 10% take rate with a 20% conversion once that's taken, depending on the offer, right? If you're asking for priority processing, you have your product shipped 24 hours earlier for $29.99, they're probably not going to take it. Post-purchase, though, that's where you can really start seeing the big fluctuations between horrible take rates and out of this world take rates. Average, though, for a post-purchase upsell, downsell, whatever it may be, probably around 25 to 30% I've seen.
Now, on that,
obviously, the
guys,
more people you send there.
Go ahead, finish your thought.
I said the more people you send into that funnel, your take rate's going to obviously go down, right? Just like as you drive belligerent traffic to your store, your conversion rate's going to go down, profit's going to go up. So not both of them need to rise at the same time. It's all about the margins at the end of the day.
Exactly. And that's where I wanted to go with where you were saying was, like, if you think about it, certain you can't compare upsell to upsell when they're in different things. So like if we're comparing they buy a shirt and we're selling them a hat as the upsell, and that take rate is 28% or 30%. And then you have another upsell, which is your continuity program for your membership, and its take rate is 6%. You can't say, oh man, that's not good, because here's the thing. 6% on a continuity, if that continuity is getting you new customers and your average retention rate of the continuity, and you do the math, it may be more beneficial to you to gain new continuity members at 6% than to sell a hat at 28% conversion. And so people are like, well, I got to sell the hat because I want that now money. But are you want now money, or do you want to build a business that's going to start cranking? Me, I would take if I knew my retention rate was good, I would take the 6% conversion all day long on the continuity customer and give up the other one. Now, not to say I couldn't put that hat as a second upsell, but if I'm going to do continuity, it always needs to be the first upsell. And we'll do later episodes, guys, where we'll get real deep into continuity to talk to you guys about that. But I just wanted to throw that out there, that not all upsells are created equal. Just because it has a high or low conversion rate doesn't mean it's a bad upsell either, or a good upsell. You could have one that has an amazing take rate, but if your margin sucks on it, or if shipping costs increase, or, because remember, they've already paid the shipping. Typically, you're giving them free shipping on the upsell for whatever you're adding. So like if they buy like a travel first aid kit for free shipping, and then you offer them an upsell of a hard-sided luggage with free shipping as well. Well, guess what? So you're eating that shipping cost to ship that much bigger item with the smaller item. And even if the take rate was 70%, if the price isn't right and your profit and the offset of the shipping cost, you might have been better off just selling them something little like priority processing for $6 and actually made more money with less hassle. So you got to kind of, think this stuff through. There's a lot of, like James said, a lot of thought, a lot of testing that goes into this.
Yeah. With that being said, on the hassle topic too, that's one thing that, that needs to be taken into account too, is these upsells and stuff like that. The more you offer that stuff, your customer service is going to need to be a little more elevated as well, especially with like priority processing and products aren't getting out on time. Black Friday, Cyber Monday hit. the aging is going to increase on your ship times. So you got to be able to fine tune it more than just looking at it from the front end and making that sale. There's a lot of stuff that happens after that sale that's got to be taken into account.
Good point. What if you're drop shipping?
Right. We've had priority processing on stores where we had like 60% take rates, and we literally had to shut it off because we were breaking the supply chain. They just can't get it out fast enough. I know we all want that money, but you got to keep your customer happy at the same time. Yeah. Otherwise, what's it for?
Yeah, and if your products come from multiple manufacturers or multiple shipping locations, that's another problem too. Like you may have product A, which comes from supplier A, and then product B, which comes from supplier B. So you upsell it, and now instead of incurring a marginal increase to your shipping charge by bundling two together, you've incurred a completely new shipping charge because there are two different packages going from separate locations. So not only does logistics get more complicated, you've also got the technical aspect of routing those products, and then you've got the added cost that you're eating. We made the sale, but why don't we have any money? And we've seen this a lot where people are drop shipping or they're using multiple suppliers and they're mixing and matching their upsells. And all of a sudden they do their numbers and they're like, we're losing money upselling. Why? Well, because they're not tracking everything all the way through.
Right.
So definitely stuff you got to be aware of.
That creates a customer service issue too when you start doing things just like that. When a customer orders a product and they take 2 upsells, all of a sudden they get 3 order confirmation emails with 3 different tracking numbers because they're coming from 3 different locations. Yep. They might not know that, and they're going to be confusing. They're going to be contacting your customer service teams, and they're going to be, just chasing that around for a while. And is that really worth, making an extra $10 on that order and profit when you got to pay this person to handle this issue, right? So that's why you just got to look at the big picture. And like Tanner said, the easiest way to do it is to offer something very, very simple, very easy for the consumer to add the product, upgrade the product, additional products, whatever it may be. Make it as easy and Homer Simpson-like as you possibly can, as Tanner likes to say.
Yep.
Shipping from the same location. So you don't want to make your job more difficult to make, an extra $10 on this one sale.
Or create more hassle for the customer.
Right.
And the other thing is with that, customer satisfaction, aside from confusion, if they know that, like if they buy the shirt shows up, but their hat doesn't, because even if they know it's coming from another facility, it still pisses them off. They're still not happy. They still get that, and that doubt, like, is it actually going to show up? So if we can avoid all of those things, that's kind of the ideal here. So, guys, with that, there's a whole lot that goes into this. As an action item, if you're not using upsells right now or cross sells, we're moving, like as we're recording this right now, we're way into Q4. We're very close to kicking off Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then the holiday buying spree that follows that as well. I highly encourage you as an action item, go get at least a basic cross sell set up. Set up gift wrapping if you can. Set up priority processing. Doesn't take much really to do. And this is the time of year when it really adds up, and you can, 20 to 30x your AOV just through this time, just by doing that. And, you can make a massive, massive difference. And it doesn't take long to do. You can get a cheap little app to do it, a free app. You could custom code it. You could do it as an upsell if you're already using one-click upsells. And if I can't think of an upsell, cool. Use priority processing as the upsell. Use gift wrapping as the upsell. Use, hey, buy one, get one as the upsell. Just do something simple, get out there and start playing with it. It's going to make you more money. And then after you get your feet wet, then you can start getting more complex and doing more advanced stuff like James was talking about. But the most important thing is that you don't just sit here and listen to us talk and say, oh, that sounds awesome, and then not do anything with it, right? So James, this was awesome. We're going to do more of these, obviously. Guys, for listening to this, if you like what James had to say, make sure you leave a review or a comment below on either the YouTube video or iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you're listening to it. And then also make sure you're subscribed. This is an iTunes podcast, it's Stitcher, it's all over the podcast world, but it's also on YouTube. So if you need links to make sure you can subscribe to both platforms, you want to go to buildgrowscale.com/podcast. You can get the show notes there, all the other stuff, and see all the other episodes that you may have not heard of yet, right? So with that, guys, thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.